Hello. So we're going to talk about Vanitas. What's behind me right now today is actually some fruit, right? We know it's a still life. A still life is where you take objects that are still, so more than likely inanimate objects, and you draw them from life or paint them from life or photograph them from life. So still life. So you have this bowl. You also have different fruits in here. And with fruit, we understand that we partake in that normally. It's something that's nutritious for us. But what if we don't eat the fruit? If we pick it or we purchase it and we just let it sit, and what happens to that? It gets old, right? It starts to change its shape and form, eventually just doesn't work out anymore. It gets moldy and it's no longer tasteful. And so what we may do with that is throw it away. We also might take the seeds from it and plant it or put it in compost. But this idea that it once was alive on a tree, it grew, we picked it or we purchased it, we ate it, it helped us, or we did not eat it and we just allowed it to die and wither, and then we may plant it or throw it away. But this sense of regeneration cycle, that life cycle that we have with living things, if we think of a flower, same concept, right? Beautiful, pick it, smells wonderful. Eventually it does wither and die, and it no longer has the function or the purpose we once had it to have, or once was. Maybe now it is regeneration in the compost and growing again, or maybe it's just put in a recycling aspect or trash or something like that. But it comes into our concept for our assignment of Vanitas. This piece is by an artist named Cezanne, by the way. Let's go ahead and share our screen. And we are going to look at Vanitas. So Vanitas, we're going to do an art piece on it. We also will have a discussion post. So they'll be doing two aspects to this assignment. Vanitas, so it means the idea of vanity. It's Latin for vanity, but it talks about how life is short. So this fleeting nature of earthly life and happiness, it's temporal. It doesn't last. It is this moment. We work so hard to get somewhere, but at the end, there is death. Right? And everyone believes in different things. So please know that this is just a general aspect, because some believe that there will be life after death and what happens beyond when we leave this earth, or do we stay on this earth? And just a lot of questions and comments. So this is an overall aspect of thinking about what is valuable right now in this time of your life, and where have you come and where are you going? So numerous Vanitas paintings have come down to us from the 17th century, and together they show that many ways of artistry, its themes. They show different ways of how artists utilize this. Anytime you see an art piece with a skull, let me grab this here. So typically, if there is a still life with a skull, it may be connected to Vanitas. I use this for my life drawing classes, you guys. All right, let's go ahead and look at some historical pieces. So this is from the 1600s, two different artists, and we see the common theme of a skull. What else do you guys see? Plants. So you see some flowers and some. Now I know this is small to see, but you see a life cycle. This flower is picked and it's withering. You also see jewels or money, or the sense of wealth, right? If we look at the right-hand one, we see these coins, medallions, pearls. We see an actual crown, different types of items that have a sense of money behind them. They look expensive. Then we also see books. Books are open. In this one, we have some words on this with the paper unfolded. And books could be knowledge, gaining knowledge, information, growing in the aspects of the mind. There's a globe back here, the idea of traveling, understanding the entire world, what's going on, being very culturally educated. We also have sometimes pocket watches. There might be hourglasses, anything along the lines that show the sense of time, how time progresses and it keeps going on regardless of what's happening in life. Candlesticks, candles burning, candles that are burnt out. Also the idea of a flame, it's alive for a time, it's illuminating light, it has a purpose, and then that also withers and removes itself and the candle goes out. So the idea of light being life, and then no candle lit could mean death or the end of that cycle. On the back, I want to show you this highlighting one from this piece. We have this little baby here. It's a cherub, or you could say like a Cupid cherub baby. There's wings behind here. And then we have this little cherub that is blowing bubbles. And so bubbles are around the surface. We don't see them very clearly, but when you think about bubbles, I remember as a kid, I loved to run and like poke at them. And when you do that today, you see children do that. They are just iridescent, these really neat kind of whimsical, magical almost shapes that just move with the environment, and they're so engaging, but they are literally there for like a moment, right? They pop, they move away, whatever happens, but they're very temporal. And so connecting with the sense of the human form, plants, animals, life, there for a time, and then it is no longer. On the back here, you have this gentleman who actually has his hand holding onto some fabric that's raised to show the sense of this picture behind him. And he's looking at us, he's partaking with us, he's talking to us, which is interesting for this engagement right now. So he has his finger, his opposite finger pointing, and it's very difficult to see this, but this piece is called the Last Judgment. So talking about what is going to happen after someone passes, where are they going, and questioning the viewer to think about their own lives and that structure. Let's go ahead and look at more of a contemporary artist. This is back in the 70s, Audrey Flack. She has a full website. I really recommend if you just type in her first and last name. She has a lot of different works, but photorealism will have these Vanitas pieces. Photorealism is representational art that looks so lifelike that it looks like it's real. So you have this tribute to Marilyn Monroe, and you see it on the left-hand side. And then you have this one called Wheel of Fortune, Vanitas. We looked at this briefly in a PowerPoint previously, but you have these momentums, or these sense of thinking about life and death and values and objects that connect to that. Let's go ahead and look at Wheel of Fortune. So we have the skull looking inward. The skull, remember, can represent the idea of death or the celebration of death, depending on our cultures and what our beliefs are. It's looking in a mirror. And you see this youthful girl, nice sunny day, happy, same circular frame that we have for this mirror, and showing the sense of how one is young, youthful, to the idea of what happens at the end of someone's life cycle. And so with this mirror of this skeleton or skull, showing that it's going to inevitably happen, that what we're looking at today will not always be there. We have an hourglass here showing time. Also these grapes that show like really sense of youthful, plump beauty, because they look like they're super yummy, right? The way that they are painted. So they're in their prime life. Pretty soon, if we don't eat those fruits, as we know, they can get withered, especially in the desert. They can die quickly. We also have the idea of adorning ourselves. So sometimes makeup might be in there, jewelry, different attire that we wear to dress up or groom ourselves, or just hygiene, things like that. We have a candle. We also have dice here. Dice, if you guys heard that saying before, you throw the dice, you don't know where it's going to land. Same thing with life. We go through life and we're not sure what's going to happen. We have a lot of questions about our lives, career, past, different things. And that's similar to the idea of dice. You might see calendars sometimes in here to show the idea of like time again progressing. Pocket watches, which we do see here. Compasses, direction of time, anything along those lines. But this is an idea of Vanitas overall. So here are just some student examples from the past. What you want to do now is gather your own thoughts on Vanitas. This is meant to be a positive experience. So think about what is valuable to you in your life. You don't have to talk about the sense of death. Sometimes students have told me too personally, they're like, I'd rather just focus on life right now. And I'm like, yes, go for that. Whatever you feel comfortable in doing. So this talks about the ideas of what this student is experiencing, her life, her family, what she's into right now, her work, going to school. And then she wanted to put some classical elements in there too. So we just looked at some classical traditional elements of candles, skulls, fruit, hourglasses, times, pocket watches, flowers. I don't know if I mentioned that already, and so much more, right? So think about any of those common themes, but please don't be limited to them, because maybe those themes, those objects have no connection to you whatsoever, and maybe something else represents life or value to you at this time. Let me show you guys a quick example. So this is literally on my desk right now, and it has a lot of pencils, pens, markers. I use this daily. I don't use every single one of them, but sometimes I need to maybe highlight something darker or write something. So use a black marker. Can't really highlight with that. I mean, here's a highlighter that can help me as well. A lot of pens that I have, different colors. So this could be a representation of my life right now, of what I pick out on a daily basis. Maybe other people would not know that unless if I communicated that to them. So maybe for my still life that I want to do, whether I'm going to photograph it to make an assemblage, maybe I'm going to paint something, draw something, or maybe I want a collage and cut out stuff from the internet, printed pictures, or from magazines. But maybe I want to do an assemblage again, and I would maybe use this because it represents me. It's also maybe about personality or character or style or colors, whatever. You can read more into it. You can even push more into this as well. There is a lot of stuff I do not use in this particular container. And that could be the idea of just being too busy. You're not able to pay attention to everything. Maybe it's too cluttered, and I need to remove some stuff. I need to go through and kind of just like relax for a little bit. Maybe my life is too busy at the moment and I don't have the sense of time. I'm all over the place. And I'm kind of making some of these things up. But I want to tell you guys how you can push more content into what you're doing by your objects that you decide to show to us as a viewer. Okay, let's go to our next one. So I won't go over all of these. I'm just scratching the surface again, but this is a shoebox, and this is talking about overall. This is more of a general view, not so much maybe too personal, but this shows about how people care maybe about their features. So the idea of surgery, and the sense of vanity, and not that vanity is, I don't want to take it as a negative connotation. It's not, because it's important for us to have proper hygiene and to care for ourselves and to advance in what we want to do, and to be fulfilled in this life. But at the same time, it's interesting just to reflect on what's important to you. Some other ones, typical skull we see here, common thread, but the artist added some different embellishments to it. So we have the shattered glass, and then we have a painted black canvas. This is done from celebrity magazines on the right-hand side. And what she did is she actually burnt out the holes of the eyes of these celebrities, which is really kind of eerie when you looked at it up close, but showing the sense that like a mask, you know, that everyone is human, everyone's real. And sometimes we idolize people, we create icons out of them, but they are just like anyone else. These are collages and drawings. This student was into track and also soccer during his high school years. So he wanted to show the importance of that and the value he had. So that has to do with his personal Vanitas of what's important to him. This one took some traditional approaches of the sense of money is important to this idea of success. Also the idea of being captured and being stuck with things and what one does for others, and just a lot of logos and things that we're inundated with in our culture and consumerism and so forth. Here's an example of assemblage. You guys are welcome to do this, where you, again, you're taking actual items that you might have. I have a lot of items here with me, but some things you might have next to you and that has meaning to you. And you would put it on a sheet of paper, on a surface of a table, however that might look to you, and then you would photograph it. So this has to do with a student. She was getting ready for a night out of town, out in town with her husband. and she stopped and looked at her bathroom countertop, and she had makeup and money and jewelry and just a lot of different things. And she realized, oh, this is like this moment I'm capturing. There's something, we're going to get dressed up, we're going to go out, and then we're going to go home, and that's the end of it. But having this sense of enjoying the moment and celebrating in the here and now, and not thinking it as, I guess, a negative process, but a positive one, celebrating. Here is another one as well, that talks about their lives and values. This is a collage. This one is more abstracted in terms of we don't know maybe what it always means, but the artist can explain that to us, right? Doesn't have to be very literal. So the objective, again, you're taking things that are personal to you, of what you find valuable in life. You can use traditional aspects of Vanitas, where you're taking different objects again to represent Vanitas, but also putting your own self into it as well. So we have a tree, we have the gravestones. We also have this one. This is about animals, and then having skulls for the animals, about death and life of nature. This is a box. The student put pictures of a brain. She pasted them over. Then the inside was this little diorama of a grave scene, and then we have these little babies, time clock. So life and death cycle, the compass, understanding kind of importance of value. This one is also done. Here's the scene on the right-hand side. It's a box that has a cardboard box in the center. So it's like two-sided. And one side is the death side, one side's the life side. So this student was pregnant at the time and showed the ultrasound. And then different decorative elements, also a lot of text on here showing just in general ideas of value or vanity, or what's been pushed to us from society, of what is acceptable or what is appropriate for how we are to be in life, or how we're to look. And then the opposite side is the other one. So I invite you guys, please look at Canvas. It gives directions about this piece. It's going to be open medium, so there's a lot of variety you can choose from. If you don't like to draw or paint, remember this is not a studio class. It's not where you need to draw or paint. You can create something like an assemblage, where you grab items, you put them together, and you photograph them. You can also do a collage. A collage is where you go through a magazine, a book, and you cut out images and paste them onto a surface. So variety of things you can do and you can partake in. Please enjoy this assignment. Again, you're thinking about your own personal reflections on Vanitas, and you can pull some elements of traditional Vanitas in there. You're going to create an art piece, and then in the discussion post, which will be coming up, you're going to explain why you did what you did. What's important to you right now? Why are you creating this? And tell us a little bit more about your process and about you, because we want to know more about you as a artist doing in this class, and just you in general as a person. So thank you very much, you guys. Have a wonderful day, and I will go ahead and stop recording.